What's up, you guys? It's Sir Scrub here, bringing you some more Scrub Tier Yu-Gi-Oh! And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at how to beat the Orcust engine. Before we get into today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Also, if you'd like to support the channel further, check out my Patreon, PayPal, and TCG Player store, linked down in the description. But with all that junk out of the way, let's jump both feet into today's video. Now, let me be clear, Orcust can be thrown into a whole lot of different strategies. I'm simply going to be talking about the Orcust engine itself. For the other decks it gets mixed with, you'll have to check out my other videos. Cyber Dragons. But for those of you new to this series, we're going to break this video down into 4 total parts. Firstly, the strengths of the engine and why it's so good. The rest of the video will be covering disruptions you should build when going first, how to deal with it when going second, and some cards that are relatively low impact in this matchup. Alright, with all that junk out of the way, let's go ahead and jump both feet into this discussion on how to beat Orcust. So, starting off, what makes this engine so good? Well, it's an extremely splashable engine, considering you only need to get to 2 monsters with different names before you have full Orcust combo, which results in the counter trap of Orcust Crescendo and at least Dingirsu to protect their board. This deck can even opt to play the ultimate nuke strategy with multiple activations of Topologic Bomber Dragon. The engine relies on banishing the Orcust monster from the graveyard to generate advantage. Harp Horror summons one from the deck, Nightmare sets your graveyard up, Symbol Skeleton recurs everything, it all plays itself. As well, Galatea can recycle the monsters, setting up your Orchestrated Babel, which makes all of their effects quick effects, by the way. And Nightmare Mermaid sets the entire combo up. All in all, this engine has a defined win condition and is very flexible. And it's the ability to where it can be played. The way that we're seeing it played now is as a backup plan. So people are playing a deck with an Orcust engine to where if their main deck gets beaten with a hand trap or something like that, to where they don't have any plays, oh, I've still got 2 monsters on board, time to just go off with the Orcust combo, to where you still end on some way to interrupt your opponent. Now, one of the other greatest strengths of the Orcust engine is its ability to grind. It can go toe-to-toe with the likes of Sky Striker and True Draco in terms of survivability, not to mention it has whatever other strategies are mixed in to support it. So, how can we cripple this engine? Well, starting off, Abyss Dweller is a fantastic card that is a simple turn skip against the Orcust engine. It is definitely a silver bullet against this particular engine. However, you do have to have access to a rank 4, but if you can facilitate it, Dweller is damn near a win con in this matchup. As well, Macrocosmos and Dimensional Fissure can absolutely wreck this deck. It can also struggle to play under There Can Be Only One, though it is dependent on the supporting engines. Using Call by the Grave as a disruption can also make this deck struggle, considering you can simply banish the Orcust pieces out of the graveyard. You can also use D-Barrier to prevent them from being able to go into Girsu, but that's Ultimately, this deck is super dependent on the graveyard, so just about anything that can disrupt it can put in work against this deck. Now let's take a look at how to go second against this board. Now, this deck is severely weak to several hand traps. The first one that I'll talk about is the newest one from the 2019 Mega 10s, and that is Dimension Shifter. This is literally Macrocosmos and a hand trap, and can be useful for all of you Thunder players out there. But for others, beware. This card does cut your own graveyard off as well during your turn, so it's only a Macrocosmos for a full turn cycle. The next hand trap that must be observed in this matchup is obviously Artifact Lancia. Lancia has been putting in work against this deck since it came out, so I won't spend much time on it. Of course, DD Crow can do wonders disrupting their graveyard and preventing them from being able to set up. Ultimately, that's the best way to deal with this deck, is to prevent it from setting up. It is not advised to try and grind with this deck, unless of course you're playing another grindy deck, and then it's just resource managing. Moving on to specifics though, Twin Twisters can at least force the Crescendo, otherwise it can rid the field of multiple potential trap cards, or even remove their field spell, which will prevent them from having all of their quick effects. A Kaiju can also put in a little bit of work, considering it can remove the Dingirsu or the Galatea or even Topologic Bomber Dragon. Removing the Galatea, however, is probably one of the more impactful things to do, considering it can prevent her from getting the Crescendo on the board or turn it off even if it's already there. Another card to keep in mind is Dino Wrestler Pankratops. This card can force disruptions or simply beat over smaller monsters. But with all that junk out of the way, let's take a look at some cards you probably shouldn't use against this deck. Now, I know this section is kind of obvious, but I like to do it anyway. So starting off, you probably want to stay away from Imperial Iron Wall, unless you time it correctly. Now on the surface, looks like the perfect out. But the problem with using this particular floodgate is the fact that they must go into the Nightmare before the Orcust combo is a cheat. If you shotgun this card too early, they'll simply use Nightmare Phoenix to out. Beyond that, Imperial Iron Wall is not as widely applicable, and when I do these videos, I try to think of side deck cards that have the most impact across the widest variety of matches, and Imperial Iron Wall just doesn't meet that standard. Another card that is not particularly helpful against this deck is Swords of Revealing Light. Anyway, that's all I've got for this one, you guys. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and feel free to share this video with a friend. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you do want to see more creative content from me, I would love to see you support the channel one step further by checking out my Patreon, PayPal, and TCG Player store down in the description. But, most importantly, don't forget, be a scrub.